Boise Pride Festival sent out a media release yesterday, kind of highlighting what attendees can expect, asking for volunteers, laying out the schedule for the three-day event at Cecil DeAndres Park. There was a part put in the middle of that release that was titled, "Help Us Light the Capitol Building Again." Organizers were asking for help to pay for splashing rainbow-colored lights across the front of the Capitol, and they claimed they were all set to do it like they've been doing it the last couple of years, or at least the way they did it last year, by bringing in their own lights, positioning them below the building, and then lighting up the State House. And they had the funds already paid for. They say they're just weeks ago, though, they were told, well, that can't happen. No lights on the Capitol grounds. They can set them up across the street, but that would require different lights, more expensive lights. So now, what they thought would cost about $5,000 is now 3 times as much to light up the Capitol. Last year, they were allowed on the grounds, so not this year. So what's changed? Well, actually, the policy has changed a few times over the years. Lighting up the Capitol, I should say, with rainbow colors hasn't always been a part of Boise Pride, but it has been a tradition for at least the last several years. Let's go back to June of 2016. While the LGBTQ+ community and its allies were still processing the mass killing in an Orlando gay nightclub just days prior to the Boise Pride Fest, Boise Pride organizers asked to change the lights outside the State House to honor the victims and celebrate the festival weekend. They were told then by the Department of Administration Director Robert Geddes, yeah, it's kind of controversial, and our lights, well, they don't do that anyway. So they could project their own lights onto the building if they wanted to, which would have cost them about $9,000. But then in June of 2018, about 10 days after the Boise Pride Festival that year, when they were allowed to put lights up on the Capitol grounds, Geddes sent an email to several event organizers, including Boise Pride, saying going forward, lighting of the Capitol would no longer be allowed. He wrote they had so many requests to light up the outside of the building, they couldn't accommodate them all. Quote, "We're becoming overwhelmed with applications, and if some are approved, all must be approved." Geddes wanted to give event organizers enough time to alter plans for the following years. He ended the email saying, "Thank you for your cooperation and for also helping retain the dignity of Idaho's most treasured building." So that meant for 2019, organizers had to bring in lights from outside of Boise and ask the public for help to do it, which they did.
Organizers with the Boise Pride Festival say the lights will go on next weekend, thanks to donations from the community, Hot Box Farms, and Albertsons. Pride Fest has reached their $7,500 fundraising goal. Organizers say they'll use the money to light the State House from across the street using high-intensity lights.
So in 2018, they were allowed to put the lights on the Capitol grounds. 2019, they were not. And apparently there were several other exceptions over the next few years. Boise Pride was allowed to set up those lights on the Capitol grounds, and that included last year. Then came the decision from the Department of Administration to not allow that exception this year, something they explained by saying, well, they've turned down multiple requests this year already, including Mental Health Month, National Stillbirth Prevention Day, a 4th of July event. They recognized there were exceptions made after that 2018 policy was in place, and it became tough to be objective when it came to deciding who was and who wasn't allowed to light up the Capitol. And they say they decided in May to enforce that 2018 policy. So no lights on the Capitol grounds for fear, of people tripping over them, or for fire, or just damage in general. But where was that concern in the years when Boise Pride was allowed to set up lights on the Capitol grounds? It's a question asked by the organizers of the event, who say they've been counting on and budgeting for those lights to be on the grounds this year. So why the back and forth?
Back in 2018, we got the okay to do it, so we did. But in 2019, they said no, so we moved them across the street. 2020, they said it was okay, but then 2021, they said no. And then last year, they said it was okay.
So I can understand the confusion and kind of like the frustration in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the board member that has those conversations with this department said everything was in line to do it again this year. But then I believe he retired in April or so. And the interim director changed course on that. But we didn't get that memo till not that long ago. So that's kind of late notice. And it kind of puts us in a bind, especially when we're being told everything is looking one direction and we budget accordingly. And then kind of last minute, that's a lot of money to kind of change course, and you can't just shift buckets for something that big.
So in order to get the right LED lights with enough strength to shine from across the street, they have to be brought in from studios, Williamson said. And you can't just run down to Tate's Rents and pick them up. So in order to light up the Capitol, Boise Pride will have to pay more once again. So far, according to their fundraising page, they've raised about $410 of the $10,000 they need to cover the cost of that lighting. 34th Boise Pride Festival takes place September 8th, 9th, and 10th at Cecil D. Andrews Park, which is across from the Capitol in downtown Boise.